Charlotte Flair, she's had a lot of feuds in her career, and we're going to look at 6 of them that you have forgotten about because WB has made Charlotte Flair one of the most important wrestlers that they have, and in recent history. Some argue that she could be the greatest female wrestler in WB history based off of her accomplishments. However, she does have a polarizing reputation. Her career has had several noteworthy rivalries. And then there have been just some that I don't even remember. And this list actually surprised me. So let's break it down. Ruby Riot. Yes. Asuka chose Charlotte Flair as her WrestleMania 34 opponent after winning the Royal Rumble match. However, before the big night, there was actually another pay-per-view called Fastlane. Charlotte actually had a short-term feud with Ruby Riot to add to the upcoming dream match, right? And everyone was like, Ruby Riot, why would you book her? Here's why. So Ruby actually had the chance to get a singles pay-per-view title shot against someone like Flair. But unfortunately, it was a predictable feud because everyone knew that Charlotte would retain the SmackDown Women's title since she had already booked her WrestleMania 34 match with Asuka, thus making it much, much bigger than a match with Ruby Riot. At number 5, we have Nia Jackson 2021. Spoiler alert, there's a lot from 2021 on this list. Now, during a match between them, they actually had an awkward moment, and it ended up showing them breaking character because fans thought they were going to fight for real once they started throwing some haymakers and stopped actually wrestling, and their strike seemed real. However, this was a one-time incident as they were good friends before the match, and even to this day, Charlotte has tried to avoid talking about that night as much as possible and instead praises Nia and mentions their great friendship. But either way, everyone saw what happened in that match, and really, they forget the feud. They remember the match, but they actually forget the feud. At number 4, we have Nikki Ash. Nikki Cross, if you will, in 2021, because Nikki Ash's push as the Raw Women's Champion really feels like a distant memory coming from September of 2023. Due to the fast-paced changes in WB, she went from the sanity character of Nikki Cross into the superhero gimmick of Nikki Ash. And Nikki won the Money in the Bank briefcase that year and used it to cash in on Charlotte, winning her first WB title. And while, yes, the two had some entertaining matches on Raw and pay-per-view, just after a few weeks, though, Charlotte, well, she did what Charlotte Flair does. She defeated Nikki to regain her title. And despite their chemistry, Nikki's push floundered due to lackluster creative and character development. And eventually it led to her switching from her superhero gimmick back to the Nikki Cross crazy person gimmick. At number 3, we have Lacey Evans in 2021 because Charlotte Flair and Lacey Evans had an on-screen feud that actually brought in Charlotte Flair's father, Ric Flair, back to television and back to television as a main character in a storyline. It started once Lacey began to flirt with the legendary star and made him her mentor in the feud against his own daughter and Charlotte Flair, which was obviously not well received by fans. WB fans had seen this before because WB had tried to push Evans before, but this time her pregnancy nixed plans, and it provided a valid reason to end the feud very quickly. So they tried to make it seem like Ric Flair was the father of Lacey Evans' baby. Obviously, that wasn't the case. She disappeared from television, Rick disappeared from television, and Charlotte was saved from the rest of this unsuccessful storyline. Yeah. At number 2, Brie Bella in 2016. This is a feud that I honestly forgot about. Charlotte Flair had a feud with Brie Bella a few months after her first main roster title win as the Divas Champion. But this feud is often overlooked. At the time, Ric Flair was managing Charlotte Flair and led to her turning heel after she betrayed her good friend in Becky Lynch. Brie Bella was nearing retirement and actually had a babyface run in her final months. Charlotte retained the Divas title over Brie Bella in a very smaller program before going on to WrestleMania 32, where she was crowned the women's champion and wrestled Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks in that triple threat. if you remember it, in Dallas. It was actually a really, really fun match. At number 1, can you guess it? Well, here it is. Toni Storm in 2021. Charlotte Flair actually had to feud with Toni Storm, which is now forgotten because WB had brought Storm up from NXT and NXT UK with high hopes for her to be successful. However, the feud between the two became a joke when they started hitting each other with pies. This incident erased a lot of NXT's credibility in the eyes of fans and those coming from NXT to the main roster. And it ultimately led to Storm requesting her release from the company, in which she went on to join AEW and rebuild her career. It was very interesting that this program kind of put Storm over the hill, and it's like, okay, screw this. I'm out of here. I don't want anything to do with this feud no longer, or this company no longer. And it's a shame because Toni Storm is an excellent wrestler, something that she's put on display in AEW. Let me know what you think about this list down below.